Over to the blackboard where I've got some drawings with a beaver dam, the creek and some trees. And see how many meetings.
Mr. Hub Bambenek, I'm sure all of you have heard of Hub around town. If you haven't seen his name in the paper, well, you don't get the paper. So I think he's going to talk about furs and trapping. Hub?
Welcome to the great outdoors. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Fine. I thought I'd come up here sometime and give you a talk about outdoors because it's getting time, taxes and all the bad weather and everything. I thought I'd have something else to do with your spirit. I was talking about Beaver. And when I finish talking up here, I want you to come up and look at the stuff, handle it if you want. The only thing I have a restriction on, I don't want you to pick up this little jar of this baby Beaver. You turn it around and you can get a very good look at it. Because you talk to them and if you tell them that you got to break, you'll have to leave the place. I think beaver is one of our most interesting animals that we have. It causes a lot of problems to the farmers, so we can't have too many in southeastern Minnesota. You see an article the other day in the paper where they wanted some trappers down in Houston County to take some out because they're really, really heavy. Big birds underneath the banks, flood the farmers' fields, so we have to keep them in check, just like all the rest of the animals. If we don't, they'll run wild on us, and then we really cause a lot of problems. You notice this big board here, these two big tails, those come off some real good beaver, about 60, 65 pounders. You notice how wide and flat they are, and they're a little hairy. They're used as a rudder. When he's swimming or he's putting a log, he goes by and he gets down in the water like that, and that tail just goes. Otherwise, he could just go all over. He doesn't have no rudder, just like anybody in the canoe. He's also used as a prop, like my little mascot here, Charlie, right here. They sit on their little tail. Isn't that nice to have a little chair with you wherever you go, to the circus, wherever, all you have to do is just sit down. You got your seat right with you. Isn't that neat? He's also used as a warning system. When they come down a good-sized tree, the mother or the father is in the creek or in the river or the lake. They swim back and forth. They don't see too far. They have very small eyes, but they hear very well. So when this one is working up on the bank, they don't care to be caught up there because a coyote or a wolf could catch them very easily because they're very heavy animals and they're slow. They can be caught and killed. So that's why one swims out in the water and keeps listening and watching while the other one works on the trees. And just as soon as they hear something unusual, it's not right, this one will get up in the water out there and he'll whack it like that. And believe me, if you've never heard a beaver slap the water, it'll really frighten you. These are the upper paws. They're used mostly for digging, especially in the summertime when they don't do any cutting. But these are the back feet. Notice how wide they are in between the toes. They're just like a big goose foot. And that's where they get all their power. They can take a log at least 4 or 5 feet long. That's what they cut them when they bring them in for their homes for the winter. They take a log like this, about 4 or 5 feet long, and they lay it up alongside their head, and they hold it like that, and that's how they can paddle with those big back feet. They can just go like that. And you can remember how high sometimes the river is and how fast it goes down the river. They can pull one of these logs right upstream. A little bit, this is a good skull from a good about 50, 60 pounder. This is really interesting. You notice the big orange teeth? The beavers belong to the rodent family, like the squirrels, the rats, the mice. They belong to that family, and most of them have orange teeth. That's their natural color. But this is what's interesting. These big front teeth, lower teeth here, that's used for gnawing the tree down. Gnawing the tree down, they use the same principle as we do with an axe. We hit it up there, we hit it down here, and a big chip flies out. And that's how they keep doing it. They keep going around and around the tree. And eventually, it cracks and down it goes. They have found beaver caught underneath because they don't know which way it goes. like you see the picture up there. I don't know if you can see it too well. I'll be up there in a little while to tell you more about it. You have two sets of teeth. These are the gnawing teeth up front. Back here are the chewing teeth that chew up the bark. And these are kept sharp by cutting on one like this. All summer long they do very little cutting. So they have this old dry log that lays up on the bank. And they'll go back to it from time and time again. Keep these teeth sharp. Cutting there, all fall, because that's when they build their homes. I hope you can see this up here. This is a little river like we have here, the Whitewater, some of the smaller streams. This is the river going down, some trees growing along the bank. They usually like to pick trees that grow along the bank because they lean towards the water, and when they cut them, they'll fall down in the water, and they're easily to cut up. They do that usually towards fall, September or October, because they know winter's coming along. They cut them down, and they'll pull it over. See this dam here? They'll pull it over to the dam and the house. And you notice this round thing here? That's the hut. That's where they will live all winter long. They'll cut these limbs down, and that's how they build a house. They pile these sticks on top of the bank, the ones that they've eaten the bark off. You can see the bark, how clean they are. They're not very wasteful. They'll clean the bark right off. So they'll pile it up on a pile like that on the bank, and wherever there's any indentations or holes, they get up leaves and hay, and they'll roll it in there and push it in these holes. And when they get up about 4 feet above the ground, right here, the home is built. But they still have to have a way to get in there. This is the river running down, or a creek running down. They'll dig holes, one on each side. They'll dig underneath, and any sticks that are in the way like that, they'll cut them off. So they got a nice open thing, just like a nice little hut. They have one on each side because they know sometimes an otter or a wolf will try to capture them, try to go in that hole underneath the water and try to capture them. That's why they have a front door and a back door, just like we do. And then they'll fix it all up, and that's when they start bringing in their food for the fall. They have one little thing there in the bottom of the hut, right near the water, like a little table in there, being a big, heavy fur animal. This is a beaver. Small one. I can it because it's small. Because if I had a can big one like that, it would take me about 3-4 weeks to a month. But they get very wet and soaked up, so they have a place. When they come in from the water, from swimming around probably all night, and come in that hole, come right up inside, and they get over there and they sit on that little table in there. And that's where they go over to shake and get all the water off as much as they can. Because up here, up near the top, that's where the nest is. That's where they stay, they live, and they have their young. That's where they stay in wintertime when it's really cold. That's why they have problems down here, especially in southeastern Minnesota. They'll put these dams in it. They sometimes put in 2-3 dams. And this is how it's done. I don't know if you can see it too well, but they'll take these sticks, and they'll dig them and go right across the stream like that with these sticks. And behind those sticks, they will draw other branches, like willows with branches on. They'll push them in just like a fence all the way across, and they will roll everything in there, whatever they can get in there, stones and everything. That forms a dam. They know that they have to have deep water, so that's the reason why they're having dams. They sometimes build 2 or 3 of them and get the water up high, and that's what raises heck with the farmers' fields. The hay fields, the water comes way up, it goes way into the hay fields, goes into their corn fields, and that's why we can't have too many beavers in southeastern Minnesota. I can show you a real beaver trap. These are really wicked. See the big teeth in them? Today they have new traps now. They kill them within 2 minutes. They're big square traps like that, one on each side. They swear, and when the beaver goes in it, it hits him, breaks his back, and kills him instantly. Not this one. This one you have to drown. It's difficult to drown because he's a very powerful swimmer. As I go on, I hope some of you have some questions. By the way, beaver are very good to eat. In the early days, they ate the tails. I never cared for them. I tried them once. It's all, I don't know, it's like solid fat. It's hard. Hindquarters are very good. Good smoke or bake. Very good. Any questions? All right. We're going about a little bit. bit about furs. Everybody know what this is? Good. How about this one? This is the woman's delight. Right, there you go. Dave, maybe I can stop you on this one. Very good, very good. And we don't have too many anymore. They're all trapped out and killed out. But he's really bad. He's a bad actor. And I'm glad they are gone because they can kill a lot of dogs. They eat a lot of, they go in burrows that have big holes. The farmers get in them. Their tractors fall down and get hurt. And that's why they're glad they're out. He's really a prairie animal. But if you don't have a good dog, and you see one sometime, and he's a small dog, please don't send him after the youth dog. I'll have to show you the claws. See those big long claws? That's what they dig with. If he's in a plowed field and he starts digging, you can hardly catch him with a shovel. That's how fast he can dig. And this is what he does. I should tell you about it, but I guess you're all old enough. Well, you lay on his back, and if a dog attacks him, he lays on his back like that, and he sits there with a big long claw. And if it isn't a smart dog that won't pile right in to try to get him by the throat, he could kill him. But if he's a dumb dog and don't know how to take care of a badger, he'll pile right on top of him, and all he does is takes those claws like that. You'll rip him right open. You'll kill a dog in 5 minutes. So he's a bad actor. Anybody know about this one? Gray fox. Yeah, you don't see too many. You don't see too many red ones. What's the problem is? The coyotes are coming up in this country. They're killing off the fox. They'll kill a fox, run right down and kill him, send you with gray fox. So we don't have too many fox. You see one now and then, but which is worse is the coyote coming up here and he's killing all our turkeys and everything else. So we're going to probably, I think, build make a, I'm going to say a boundary like they did on the fox here back. Now, weasel, ermine. This one isn't tan. This one is. See how soft he is? That's the difference in tanning. That's all. I'll show you a little bit about tanning. This is how Indians did their tanning. See this square thing here? That's a frame. And there's a hide laced in there. See it? How it's laced around this big square down here? First they take a hide and they'll soak it with ashes. And they'll leave it maybe 4 or 5 days and they'll cut a little piece off to see if it's turning white. If it's turning white, then it's cured. Then they'll lace it up. Once they get it laced up, they'll put a little fat on it, a little oil and stuff, and then they work on it. And who does it? The women and the kids. They all get up there and they'll have the shin bone from a deer or other bones, and they'll get on that hide like that. And believe me, they really work on it. Because if they don't tan it, that's what they mean by tanning. If you don't, it'll turn like this little hide here. Can you hear it? No time it'll fall apart, dry out, and get worse all the time, and it'll just fall apart. That's what they mean by tanning. They got it laced up there just like this hide is here. See, it's laced up in there like that. It's strung around with rawhide all around. And that's when the children, they go to work. They get these shin bones and other bones, and they'll get in there and they'll just work on that darn hide until it gets soft. It has to get soft. They'll work on it like that. They'll just, that's what I did. When I built myself a little thing like where I could sit. And it was like a 2x4 when it was out of metal, and it was sharp on both sides. And I'd get that hide rounded like that, and I'd just work it like that. Now it's soft, see, it's usable. That's what they mean by being tanned. Now I can make a cap out of it, cuffs, mittens, anything else. That's what they mean by tanning. In a big factory, they can throw 50 hides in a big machine, and it'll just revolve all day long with sauce and different things they put in there, and that'll tan the hides. Oh, I should ask you this. They also they'll put them on the ground too, and they'll peg them down with pegs right on the ground. And that's easier for the children to work on the hides. That's how they tan the hides. They tan, the real hides they used for were softer hides like rabbit and stuff like that. They would tan and use them for moccasins. And the women did that, and they chewed on them. Can you imagine chewing on those smelly hides? They got them real soft and just beautiful. And they use those on their feet, so they want them nice and soft. And anyone tell me, look at the Eskimos where they live. What do you suppose they could use for acid? That's what they use for acid. What do you suppose they could use for acid? We could buy it. I went to the drugstore and bought acid. Mix it with butter and thin it down so it don't burn the hide. What can the Eskimos use?
Seal oil.
Where could they buy it? No, you're close. No. Urine. They save their urine. They get a hide and they'll hang it up like that. Throw it a nice, like a little bucket. They hang it in there and they soak that hide in there. And then they'll take it down to the river or wherever, get some water and wash it out. And then they'll start going around like Indians. Any more questions? Tell you about the beaver. You can stay underwater 15 minutes, and believe me, that's a long time. They got valves that can close in their ears, and close their mouth, with the lips form right in here, and closes it off. 15 minutes, believe me, that's a long time. I read a story about a man that got away. I don't know if you ever read the story about Coulter. He was caught in the early days around up Wyoming, around near the Yellowstone River. The Indians caught him and took all his clothes off and put him in a teepee, and they thought they were going to kill him the next day, they thought. And he got away, and he remembered that they were near the river, and down the river was one of these big lodges, one of these big beaver houses. So he dove and went underneath there. They heard him, they saw him, and he dove in the river, and he never come up. So they figured he drowned. He was inside of one of those beavers, because some of those holes in those beaver lodges are that big around. He crawled in there, and he sat there for 2 or 3 days. He felt sure as heck he was drowned. So the next day he got out and he swam down the river all night long, and he got into the Yellowstone. And that's where the water is warm. And how he made it, no one knows, but he made it. He must have killed some animals or something to get some clothes. He had no clothes, but he made it. Mr. Coulter, one of the early trappers. I forgot to mention about trappers. Those were the first guys that came up in this part of the country. There weren't surveyors or gold seekers. Gold wasn't found yet. Neither were buffalo seen. They were just starting to come up from the east coast because all the beaver were trapped out over there. So they started, these trappers and mountain men, as they were called. They come up with their canoes, they come up through Wisconsin, Minnesota, all these rivers, and start to trap all the beaver. When I was a youngster, I never saw beaver. Beaver were all gone. And that's how they got started here in this part of the country, because we had a smart biologist. He was our first wildlife man in Minnesota. He thought when they were going to build these huge dams that it'd be a good, wonderful place for beaver. So he went way up into Canada and live trapped a couple of pair, and he released some up here west of Winona, all the way down to the Iowa border. And that's where our present supply of beaver comes from. We still got beaver from that first start. Of course, they're different beaver, but that's how they were started. I remember it took about 6, 7 years, and then they opened up the season. And can you imagine that first season? $55 for one hide. That's how much they were worth at that time. Any questions? Talk a little bit about turtles. I know most of you have seen a lot of turtles. Crawl around. This is a snapper. This is one that you don't want to fool with. If you don't know how to handle one, you catch one, you pull them up in the boat. Don't fool with them, or try to reach them unless you know how to handle them, or you have a big sack, and you can put them in the sack. Otherwise, he's really bad. That's why he's called a snapper. A very thick and powerful neck. In case you don't know, people, turtles do not have teeth, just bony jaws and hooks. When they get something like that, they're real hooks there. One on the top and one on the bottom. When they get something, they can tear it. And that's how they tear their food pile. Because they can't chew it up, they just tear off in big chunks and gulp it down. And that's why you see them sitting around on logs and stumps and on shores. They want the sun to heat up the back so they will start to decompose inside their stomachs. That's the only way they can eat it. So you got to be real careful. Now this one is cleaned up. He looks beautiful. They're taking all the moss off the room, and I blacked them and varnished them. You see real, sometimes I've seen him along the trout streams. He'll be laying down right amongst the rocks. He's laying down there, and he's full of moss. You'll walk right over the top of him. You'll never know it's a big rock, big flat rock laying out there. Because that's how he camouflages himself. All this moss is laying down there, and there's current water and moisture by, and that moss is on top of his back, and it just keeps waving, and it looks just like a big old rock. And the fish will come along swimming, why it just looks like, and he's got his head pulled way in, just so his eyes are sticking out, just a little way, and he can watch anything that gets that close. And we get about that close, he's got it. That's why he's called a snapper, and believe me, he is fast. I got bit once and never again. I made a foolish mistake, being young, you know, and foolish. I thought I could carry him. There's a way to carry him. You don't have a sack. So I took him just like this. I feel like that. Can you imagine what happened? He bit me when he got me right through my pants, and I couldn't get him off. Good thing there was another fellow along. So he went over and got a railroad spike, got it in his mouth. He pried his mouth open and got him off. Believe me, I tell you, I had quite a sore area there for a long time. Here's another one they tell you. If you ever get bit, if you ever get your hand inside of, and he gets you and he's got your finger in there, you'll really hurt, and he can take it all. Those bony jaws will cut and cut and cut. So you have to either get a spike or something. Don't believe this thing that you can poke like that. Poke it down his throat and he'll gag and go, he'll open his mouth. Don't you ever buy that. You'll have to get something out, either a pair of pliers or a railroad spike. You got one. The best thing is leave them alone if you see them, because they're needed. They're very good killers. They kill a lot of old bad fish and different things, and eat a lot of dead fish, and dead muskrats and ducks. They kill a lot of stuff, but they do a lot of good. That's the snapper. Don't take them for a pet. It's a snap turtle. See, I painted them a little bit to show you the different designs. Turtles are put together in little pieces like that. And they all fit together like one piece. They all got teeth on them, little chunks. If you ever come up here, you'll see it. I'll leave them up like that, and you can notice it. They all fit and dovetail together like that, all little pieces. And that's how they grow. They expand that way in these little pieces. This is a map turtle.
What is the name?
Map turtle.
How do you spell it?
M-A-P, like a map. This is a western pinion turtle. Very pretty turtle. This one you can take for a pet. You take one, I bet in a week, 2 weeks, you eat a hamburger out of your hand. But you have to be sure that you have a top of something with some stones in it, an old log, so he can crawl up and dry off, because if you don't, he will get a disease. A fungus will take over and it'll kill him. Or it won't if you leave him go in the fall, early enough in the fall so he can find a place to go down into the mud for the winter. Turtles were used to for a lot of things. Indians used them in all their dances. I also used those big shells for plates and dishes and stuff that they ate out of. But this is the turtle that I like. It's falling apart now. He's getting too beat up. I've showed this collection to, I don't know, a couple thousand kids already in the last 20 years. This is the, I can't think of the name of them now. Anyway, he's spotted, and there's one place that I know where they are. Up near Beaver in those sand dunes over there. It's the only place that they go. He's spotted, and this is the only turtle that can do this. All the other turtles, I have to show you one and then the other. All the other turtles, they got just holes there. They can just pull their feet in like that, and their head is in there just a little ways. A raccoon or a skunk or an otter or mink can kill them real easy. They just reach in there and pull their legs out and everything and eat them right up. You can't do that with this turtle. This is called the blandy. He folds up. He folds up in the middle like that. And he pulls right up just tight, and you can't reach in there to get anything. He pulls his feet in, and his head, tail, he winds it up underneath there, and pulls it up like that. The blandy is a beautiful turtle with all little spots. Very pretty. I don't know any way to, I put leather on there to show the kids how you can fold up. I don't know other way, because that dries out in the cracks and the breaks. I don't know, I haven't figured out a way how to show the kids, but this is one way I can do it. I put both pieces on with a screw, one on each side, so it shows how they can lock that turtle shell together. Any questions? Yes?
Which turtle do you use for turtle soup, and have you ever been any or eaten any?
A lot of them, but they're getting scarce. A lot of people, they're really expensive now. A lot of hunters hunt them all the time. You don't get much from a snapper like this, probably 5, 6 pounds. But they're about $2, 2.5 a pound now. You bet. Hunt them all fall, you go after them with big hooks when the ice starts to form a little bit. That's when the turtle leaves the river and he goes into deep holes and tries to get down into the mud and hibernate the rest of the winter. But they're not easy to clean. See, this is bone on the belly. The rest, all you get is these 4 legs and a little bit out of the tail and the neck. That's about all you get. The rest is all intestines and everything stuff inside. That's all you get. So you don't get very much. You probably get maybe, if you get 4 or 5 pounds out of this big turtle, you're doing real well. You can eat the other ones, but there's not much to them. I don't think it would be worth the time to skin them and clean them out. The snapper's the one. We have another turtle, I mentioned him. He's only in the river, and he's very good eating. That's the soft shell. And he's another mean guy that'll really hit you and grab you and bite you. So if you ever catch one, and if there's not an older person around to help you or a good fisherman and looking about him, cut the line and let him go. Because it ain't worth the bite. But he'll really hit you. Any questions? Yes?
Is it really true there that turtle meat is mixed all different kinds of
Fine.
meat?
Yeah, you hear a lot about that. I don't know. I don't think so.
About that.
No, there's dark and light meat, yes. But they make a very good soup. Believe me. Yes?
Do all turtles lay eggs in the sand in the banks, or do
Yes.
some of them have a
Yes,
land?
they'll lay some in the mud a little bit, yes. But you notice, if you ever noticed where you found those, usually they're on a hill. They lay their eggs on the hill, and they know, that instinct tells them, if they go downhill, eventually they'll hit water. And that's why they lay their eggs on side hill. And when you do lay eggs, big turtle like this big snapper, he'll go around 5, 6, 7 different places. You go over here and he'll dig a hole, then he'll pat it all down. He wants a food of raccoons and the skunks. They'll go monkeying around, they'll find all empty holes and they give up. So eventually he figures he'll save some that way by making these holes all over. Any more questions? Well, something different. I don't know. This is a miniature clamming boat. I don't think any of you have seen one. I've seen a couple. But they really disappeared. And we're really lucky. I guess they're cleaning up the river a little bit. There are some clams coming back. And I see some crawfish coming back. And I noticed a few more snakes on the river. So they are really doing something. But this is a small boat. And the big ones were about 20, 30 feet long. And this is what they had on each side. They had big long pipes. This is just a small one to show you with hooks on. You'll have to come up and look at it real good. And I'll explain it now. They had big long bars, probably 15 feet long, one on each side. And on those bars, like these are hanging, they had these hooks. They were tailor-made. On the ends of those hooks are little bulges, little balls hanging on each one. So this is how they did it. They'd be going downriver and they'd throw one of these off. And there was probably 7, 8 hooks on that long rod, 7, 8 hooks in a row going down. In the old days, they called them clamming pits. There were probably thousands of clams in one area, and that's where they would have lay out their eggs and stuff, and they would get those every year. They take quite a few out. But this is how it's done. This is a clam like that, and it's down in the water, down in the sand, feeding like that. Only when they're feeding, they're down in the sand, it's open, about that wide. And that's their foot that's sticking out. It's not their mouth. That's their foot. And they suck from one end. And they suck the sand and they get the stuff out of the sand. It's very good. And when it's open, this hook is sliding down along the bottom. And there's probably 5, 6 behind this one. Drag it down to the sand, going down the river like that. And when that clam is open, it gets in that crack. He quick closes up tight. You don't want no sand. You don't want anything in there because it'll kill it. So that's why when he climbs down and he's hanging on to that thing like that. They'll go maybe a block or 2 down the river, floating down, and they'll stop, and they'll pull this one up, and and set it on this rack. And these hooks are all full of clams. Then you take the other one, so he's not wasting any time. You throw that one off to fish while he's working on this one. This one here, he's taking the clams off. You can pull them off really easy, throw them down in the pile. Once in a while, you get some other clam, like this one here. This is called paper shell. It's no good. See how thin it is? There's nothing there. They couldn't make a button out of that. But here's some originals. You see the holes? Those are huge, big buttons. Today, if you buy a good shirt, you look at it and you see if it's fluorescent and it shines in different colors, that's clam. And you know you've got a good shirt. You won't find that in cheap shirts, believe me. They had a lot of different names. I shouldn't mention one was called the nigger toe. I shouldn't say that. That's what they called one, the nigger toe. This is a 3-ridge and a long john. Oh, they had maybe a dozen, 15 different kind of clams. They all had different names. But that's how it was done. Now, they probably fished probably all morning till they got a good load of clams in the boat, and they'd go downriver. And that's where the family would stay all day. They'd have lunch and everything there, and the kids would have to help. They had a huge big tank. They would fill it about 3/4 full of water, and the mother and the kids had the fire going, and they had the water hot. So when they would come, when the father would come with all these clams in his boat, he'd get as close as he can because they build that fire right on shore, so he wouldn't have to shovel them too far. They had big scoop shovels, and he'd take these clams and he'd throw them in that hot water because it's a job to take a knife. You know how they open an oyster? I don't know if any of you ever seen them open an oyster. They got a little short knife like that. They'll push it in there and they'll try and open up an oyster. And you can imagine how many the work it took with jackknife to do that. You break 100 jackknives a day to do that. So they threw him in this hot water, and his hands open right up. So then he goes in there with they had a big dip net made of chains. He'd go in there because the water was hot. He'd go in there like this, and he'd throw them out on the pile. When they'd cool off, they'd open up, they'd cool up pretty quick. The kids would go over there, and then they'd have knives, and they'd open up. They'd open up like that. They'd take a knife and open that up because they saved all that meat, all that flesh. They'd put it in a big pail and sold it to the farmers, to hog. So the kids had quite a job. And that was in the early days. I think the last I remember, clams were worth about $20, $22 a ton. Can you imagine? And they're not very heavy. Can you imagine the ton? I think there was a pile. I've never seen one in Beaver on shore. I bet it was that high. And oh gosh, imagine how many clams it took for a ton. $22. But those are hard times. And all summer long, the kids would go on shore, make way, they'd pick up clams. I see they open the season now in Minnesota in the river. And I don't know how they're doing it this quick, but there's some good money in it. I have to tell you something else, why they're really good. These are the only ones because pearls. Beat that? And this is the stuff they found out that these are the only clams from the Mississippi River. When they grind them up, they get them real fine like sand. And they can take a little thing and they'll inject a little bit inside that clam. And immediately, as soon as that stuff gets in there, it's like sand, they coat it with some kind of a juice that the clam has inside. So it will not hurt the clam, so it won't hurt itself. So they coat it. And I don't know how many years it takes. It'll make a beautiful pearl. That's how it's done. So now, that's what they're buying. They're getting some. We've got a couple of clam fishers down in Iowa. They're doing fair. But I guess the government's kind of watching them, holding back as they clean them out in no time. But that's what's being done with our clam. I have to show you this. This is a necklace. If you ever hear of anybody that's going to have snapper soup, he's going to kill one. Be sure you ask him for the bones out of the neck. There are about 3 in a big snapper like that in his neck. The 4th one won't be too good. But the Indians used them for their necklaces. Let me show it to you. Go around because you'll miss it if you come up. See that little dog? That's the vertebrae out of the neck, and they look like little dogs. I'll have to go around and show it to you because you won't see it up here. Can you see this little dog? Well, I'll do it also. That's the vertebrae out of the neck of the snapping turtle. The only one he's got. Little dog. Little dog. how they made the necklaces, because they didn't get that many eagle claws and stuff like that, bear claws. They didn't have guns in those days, so they made them. And in between all these, I got some blue beads and shells from the 22. You didn't notice that when they showed you. Those are turtle claws. And they made a lot of necklaces. Any questions? Turtle.
What was used to sew those together to make the necklace?
Well, just got nylon. Thread.
Where did they get that?
Well, they didn't. They used sinew from the deer's legs,
from the
pull
deer-
their sinews out.
From
Sure.
the deer skin.
Yeah, or deer
Okay.
skin. Yeah.
They did use the skin though sometimes too.
Oh yes, right. Sure, they can cut it in strips. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bought a couple, and you make your own. You make raw hide shoelaces. Sure. Just take a nail and nail it down, big piece like that, and you go around and around with your knife. Cut out, and stretch them out, because they're not. They'll never get hard or stiff. That's why they call it raw hide. It's half pure, half tan. Like I said about these furs, it's half tan and going black. That's what I could tell you about furs. See, this one's dirty, but a good fur is white. And if you try to bring a fur in too early and it's got black on it, on this leather, he's half tan, half raw. The fur buyer will give you half crack. So you don't do it. So you notice most of my furs are white. They're not really white, they're just a little dirty. See, white, you bet you no black in there. If there was black in there, he would cut you down. Same with this muskrat here.
I was trapping for those turtles, snapping turtles, and he caught one and he put it in a sack, funny sack, and we were in our little rowboat. And all of a sudden I could feel it crawling in my back. You know, it was crawling, but it was still in the sack. Oh, I after that. And beaver tastes, when it's roasted, it tastes just like roast beef. Put a lot of seeds in it.
Well, you don't have any questions. If it's time to come up, maybe then you'll have some. You want to come up?
How do you make them?
Look around.
How do you get the leather soft like that?
Work.
Why don't we have the Valentine party now, and then you can come up and look at it while we eat lunch?
That's right.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay?
Right.
All right?
That's right.
Okay.
I'll fix it so you can go on both sides.
Our Valentine party, well, those of you who signed a Valentine when you came in, take one now. I know there might be some confusion because some people have left, but we'll do the best we can with this now in our exchange of Valentines. So everybody who signed a Valentine, take one. And we'll tell you what to do with it after a while. Thank you very much for coming. I see Evelyn taking pictures here. I sure would like to see that video someday.
We saw it in real life.
Yeah, we did. See what a good job she did. See who we have standing. Did a beautiful job. That's good.
Thank you.
Learned a lot. All right, everyone standing?
Pretty, you did a very good job.
No,
I learned a lot today. It was just like being young again.
Thank you, sir.
That was Mr. Sweezy.
Yeah.
But so often seeing him out on the skating rink too. And I'd be afraid of what might happen if I fell.
Yeah.
Our bones get a little brittle. And you know, if you don't try anything new, you never fall.
Yeah, that's
So I fell a lot of times.
Oh, you bet.
I'm just there.